everybody, and welcome to our session. This is Markus, this is Olivier, and we are going to be sharing with you the power of great customer experience. I am, for now 2 years, founder of a small customer experience consultancy. We operate around the world, but before that I was an executive at E.ON, and I led customer experience on the perimeter of around 33 million customers. Before that, I was a senior leader or senior manager at Orange Business Services, leading customer experience, but also operations in Europe. The reason I took a 90% or 90-degree turn in my career 2 years ago was because I was at the midpoint of my career and thought I should now start sharing what I had learned, because there was a gap. Lots of companies needed to understand what customer experience is about, but there were only very large, expensive consultancy providing that, and I'm enjoying helping companies doing this very job. So that's about myself. Markus.
So, yeah, I'm Markus Hormness. I'm from the northern part of Bavaria, lovely Bavaria, I just told them. That's where, when you drink your way towards Germany, when the beer gets better, you get closer to our region. So, so if you're around, give us a call. We take you out. So, yeah, so I have a different path than Olivier. I started as a theoretical physicist and switched to the dark side of business consulting right after university. I've been involved in innovation and knowledge management projects ever since. And if you look, if you want to draw a Venn diagram, which is popular out there, so you would find me at the intersection of design, technology, and business. This is where I really like to be. I'm the co-founder of our local makerspace. We started 8 years ago now. We started a non-profit event which is called the Global Service Jam, which brings the idea of a hackathon into the world of design thinking and innovation. So you have to create a prototype within just a weekend, which is an event which goes on in March, usually with 4,000 people worldwide at the same time. In our work, yes. We need to be along in the cameras. I also teach, but also a lot on service design and customer experience. However, the most work that we do is around igniting communities of innovation within companies. That's where I met Olivier at the time, and we've shared quite some part of the way. So it's excellent. So that's who we are, but that's not so important, right?
No.
Let's move on. Let's get started. And experience is about experience, and some wise man once said, the only way to experience an experience is to experience the experience. So may I ask you to get up very quickly and find a partner. Get up and find a partner. Okay. As soon as has everybody got a partner? Who hasn't got a partner, please raise your hands. If you haven't got a partner, please raise your hand. You haven't got a partner? Then you get Olivier. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's how it is. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna play thumb wrestling. So the US guys might be familiar with this. So basically, how this works, Olivier, let's demonstrate. Basically, you take your right hand and you lock your hands so that your thumbs are on top and freely. And now you start to thumb wrestle. But you don't start straight away. You have to say a phrase before you do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, I declare thumb war. So that actually starts your thing. I will repeat it. And as soon as that has been declared, you try to get on top of the other thumb. And the one who actually can press down the other thumb wins. Right, so you try to push down the other thumb, and whoever managed that wins. We try that out, okay? The phrase is 1, 2, 3, 4, I declare thumb war. And then you start.
1, 2, 3, 4, I declare thumb war.
Thumb war. Okay, excellent. Do we have some winners, some others? Okay, So that was the first round. That was the first round. Now, the good thing about thumb wrestling is, and we heard this in the first presentation today, the world is more connected today. Yeah. In the 80s, we used to play thumb war just on our own. Now we're connected because you have more than just one hand. So basically, you can play with one hand with one guy, and you can connect to someone else and play with the left hand with some other guys. So building a network of thumb wrestling pits so that you can play on, okay? So now, please do connect the room playing thumb war, okay? So this is massive multiplayer thumb wrestling, right? Okay, okay. Are we all connected? So wait for it, and we're gonna count you in. Can someone actually connect these two silos here, please? Can someone connect? Try, yeah. So there's also, you can have like a triple if you want. So okay, fantastic. We're all connected. Excellent. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now I count. Let's count ourselves in and start the same thing at the same time. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. I declare thumb war. And now off you go. Off you go. And go again if you've already finished. Go again. Excellent. Excellent. Give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. And take your seats. And take your seats. Okay. So, again, it's about experience. So we can talk a lot about this, but you know, in the end, customer experience, like a lot of things, we can do in a small team, but eventually we have to reconnect the whole initiative with the rest of the organization, with the wider community that we're in, with all our customers and clients and the relationship. So basically, see that maybe as a metaphor in this talk that we're giving. Okay, so let's start with an example. A couple of years back, some guys did a huge study on healthcare in the US, and they asked the question, so what are the main reasons to actually recommend a hospital? Okay, and if you think about this, you know, why do we go into a hospital? You know, to get better again, to get something fixed. So somewhere in this top 10, there has to be this kind of getting healthy again. So for yourself, just for a moment, think about where in the top 10 do you think this getting healthy again is? And I'm count from the bottom. So who thinks, just raise your hands, if you think it's in space 10, 9, or 8. Okay, a few. 7, 6, or 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think we have a mix with a certain bias towards the bottom. And of course I tricked you, because these are the reasons why people recommend hospitals. If you read them, team worked well together, hospital was generally friendly and cheerful, they reacted to my complaints, they knew which situation I was in. These are all very human factors. The funny thing is, the first health-related topic is number 14, and it's pain management. So why is this? Why are these factors so much more important to our customers than the actual thing that we have all these quality drives on? And the main reason there is, I mean, there's discussion, but people don't go to hospitals to die anymore. That used to be 100 years ago when the hygiene situation was bad. Then the quality of the hospital was a key thing. But today we expect this a lot. So it's okay. So other factors bubble up and are more important now until we miss our basics again. So it's going to be a balance here. So if you think about your own business, what are the hygiene factors and what are the factors that are important to customers now? So there's another example, I think, that we have.
I know someone who's on the eBay board, and his first board meeting, he witnessed those folks that don't really understand the platform that they are selling to their customers. They've never used it because they have people doing that for themselves, and they were still arguing, apparently for 2 years, about a delivery dilemma. What is the best model to deliver on our platform? Should it be faster delivery at a premium, or should it be free but standard delivery, standard lead times? Think about it, right? And you might get influenced by Amazon Prime model today. This is about 5 years ago, right? So who votes for option 1? Option 1? Who votes for option 2? Right. So those guys who've never actually done any eBay platform experiencing actually were debating about that. Well, the answer was none of those 2 options. We tricked you again. Because it was, give me a choice, but please, the most important thing is, give this to me on time. Because time is becoming, in our world, the most valuable thing we have. So once again, we assume, even members of the board at eBay assume they are very normal people, they are just the average people, and therefore they can extrapolate and think on behalf of their customers what their customers need. And in fact, no. What we need is to make the right decisions, is listen really hard to your customers. Yeah? So far, 2 examples showing that assuming is not good enough. You need to just go and listen to your customers to make the right decisions. And that's one of the things why customer experience is the new battlefield. We heard Michael say this morning that 80% of customers think that customer experience is more important than product and services. Yeah? If you look at the last point on this page, so there's obviously a lot of data talking about how important customer experience is, how good it's for customers, but also for your bottom line. The point on the bottom, which is very recent, it's just been published, shows that if you have moderate but constant and consistent customer experience improvement over time, you are likely within 3 years to increase your revenues related to those improvements by 50 or 48 to 100%. You can potentially within 3 years double your revenue just as a result of those customer experience improvements. We know happy customers buy more, they recommend, they renew, right? But they also cost less. It's a very interesting cycle. So let's hear it from the expert. What is, Markus, customer experience in depth?
Okay. We hear it all the time, but let's actually get down to earth with it and make an example. So when we talk about customer experience, who do we talk about? We talk about customers, but who is it this? So depending on the project that you're in, it might also be, you might call them clients, you might call them users, you might call them employees because you're the HR department delivering a service or an experience to the rest of the organization. Whoever you actually work for or with, these guys we call customers. So wherever your business is, please replace that word. In the end, we actually work with people. So let's meet one of these people, and this is Jacob. Jacob is a designer. He's from Cologne. He's a nice guy. And one thing that you can always hear him say is, "Don't believe the hype." So if you know Germany, then that's the reason why he's a designer in Cologne and not in Berlin. So yeah, don't know how it is here in France with Paris and the rest of France. Might be similar. So we like our Berliners. For what they are. So meet Jake. So this is the guy. He might stand actually for a target audience that you have. And now he wants to go on holiday. So basically the example is tourism industry, which is a great example. So he's reading a travel magazine on a park bench in a break, and then he says, I should go on a holiday. I need some time off. So he goes to a travel agency and gets some options. But does he book right there? No, he doesn't. He goes back home, flips open his laptop, and checks on TripAdvisor whether the recommendation actually are worth anything. So he double checks what other people have said about this. Does he go back to the travel agency? Of course not, because the booking button is right there, so he just goes for it and books it right there and then. So what we have here in this first experience with that kind of travel thing, the industry, are 4 different interactions on different channels. So we have a paper channel, print media channel, we have the face-to-face in the agency, we have the digital channel. TripAdvisor is indirect, we can't control it directly, and the direct channel, the web shop, the booking site, where we have everything under control, the messaging and everything. So this is interesting. So there's also another thing happening, because a week before he's going on holiday, he's just at the copy machine dreaming about his holiday. This is a vital part of any holiday. And actually, it's a vital part of the holiday to tell your colleagues that you're going on holiday. They love that. Yeah. So there's interactions that we can control as a provider of a service, and others that we can't. So how does it go on? So basically, he's packing his bags, and finally he arrives at the airport, and there's a huge line at the baggage drop-off, and finally it's his time. He gets rid of everything. It's all fine. And this is the first time a service provider actually has a direct contact with Jacob. So that's where the core of the service starts. Where does the customer experience start, actually, in your case? Think about this. So, and then he goes through security in socks, because it's one of these awful airports where you have to basically undress to get through security. This is regulation for us. So there is some parts of a customer experience where we have to say, okay, people told us to do this. This is the law. We have to build this in. So how do we do that? How do we play with that? Then it's boarding time. How tall or loud are the people next to me? Do I sit next to a family? Or how's the in-flight experience? So he orders a bottle of wine, and he's happy until he arrives at the destination. And it's not a fine thing if he comes in like this. But he survives. He stays. He gets the taxi to a hotel, stays at the hotel. Who else is there? He does I think it's the open water diver, license that he gets, and dines at a local restaurant before he heads home after a week of relaxing activities. So this is kind of the experience that he has with his holiday. But does it end there? Does it end the customer experience of Jacob going on a holiday? So shout out, what are the things that happen after he touches down back home in Cologne? Yeah, post to social media. What else? TripAdvisor. Yeah?
Talks to people.
Talks to people. What else? Very pragmatic. You come home, what do? Laundry, yeah. And if you travel with a family, you do laundry for a long, long time. And you wonder, where does your 6-year-old actually get all this sand from? And why is it still there after 6 months? I don't know. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. And basically going back to work as well. All the email backlog that hits you straight after holiday. So that's part of happens. But a big part, of course, is sharing the experience. Okay, so if you look at that, that's the overall client experience. And this is an important thing. This visualization is an important thing. Because different from product design, where like if you build a clicker, Logitech builds these clickers, it's fine, I can put this on a table and we can have a discussion about it. I don't like that shape, why is that button actually closing Keynote on an Apple Mac and it's just going black on a Windows machine? I don't know, Anyway, little things. So, but with an experience, what do you put on the table? So we need these visualizations to actually, as a group in a room, as a team, to be able to work on that experience. So we call that boundary object. A group of people can look at this and improve it and find the problems. So let's move this. So this is a service point of view, but this also works if you're in the product industry. If you build, for example, TVs, it's the same thing. So the TV breaks down, looking for a new TV on newspapers, Googling all that reviews, actually finding a shop, looking at it, turning around, taking your mobile, finding somewhere cheaper, move to the other shop, buy it there, etc., etc. So in that sense, it works for the product industry very much in the same way, and we heard that today before. It doesn't matter whether it's product or service. In the end, it's about the experience. So, and of course, and you know all that because that's what we talk about here. This is Klaus, by the way. He's a software developer from Innsbruck, and he's the guy in the restaurant with Jacob. And they talk about this word of mouth. You know, he might have posted stuff on social media. So these customer experiences are connected. So that triggers a new one. And then we are posed as a company or as a service provider or as a product company, we have to orchestrate all these experiences to be really great and consistent. And that's the challenge that we're looking at, especially because we need to understand all these different channels. Like 20 years, it was an easier world. Today, we need to make this simpler. Also, this is why we're here. So what are the different channels? Who's responsible for the different channels? And are these just the channels? Are the digital channels everything? What else is happening in the real world? And why are people actually using these things? And then what does the organization have to deliver to make this customer experience rock and roll? So basically that's also a visualization that we have, which is called the service blueprint. On top is the storyboard of the customer experience. The next line is the customer actions, the front stage actions of any frontline staff. And then there's a line of visibility in between. And then what is the frontline staff doing behind the scenes to help the customer? And what's the rest of the organization doing in terms of systems and business processes to support this customer experience? Again, to be able to talk about this, we need a boundary object, we need a visualization to be able to actually practically work on this. So, how does this work? How do organizations actually organize them internally?
Well, it's a really important question. And actually, earlier when we were fighting with our thumbs, in the second round, right, we had to make an effort to connect the two silos. And that's what happens in companies, particularly the larger the companies, the more you have to force yourself to connect the silos together in order to deliver a seamless experience across the silos, across those journeys, and all of the channels, right? And remember that. But actually, customers do not care about this. So you need to do this internally and find ways to connect yourself seamlessly so that you provide the experience and don't project your org chart, your process maps. So let me just give you a tip. There are many, many ways to connect other than play, thumb wrestling. You can also connect your backstage. So remember the line of sight that Markus has just mentioned between backstage and front stage. We at E.ON worked for about 3 years improving customer experience only in the front stage. So we assume this is customer-facing staff. The rest of the organization doesn't do this, right? But we really quickly plateaued and realized that there was a lot more to be done, and actually a lot of the improvements were locked within the organization. So we needed to turn the organization towards customers, supporting the front line, enabling the front line. So we did something that, from a KPI point of view, is debatable. Markus and I keep arguing about that. Should you use your NPS score internally, and particularly with support functions, asking your colleagues whether they would recommend you as a support function when they have no choice, right? But it doesn't really matter. Just pick a pulse so that you can trend how your organization is working internally. But the fact that you ask that question does a number of things. So it helps you understand whether you're doing well or not, right? But it also then, as a secondary question, asks why. So why am I doing so well? What do I need to do more of? Or what am I not doing so well? What do I need to stop doing or change, right? And those conversations are really important. The fact that the front stage asks the backstage that question points everybody towards enabling the front line. And that's really important. So this is how we organize ourselves. Just one example, but it's really important you do that behind closed doors so that you project a seamless experience to your customers. But even more importantly now is a question which is why understanding what matters to customers is important, right? And Markus is going to help us on that.
It's just a little example. I mean, Theodore Levitt actually said this wonderful quote, people don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill, they actually want a quarter-inch hole. This is one thing. So this is in our product world. We're helping with digital experiences. But let's be honest, people don't even want a quarter-inch hole. What they really want is a nice living room, because they use that hole to hang up a frame and fix something. So what is the scope? What are you looking at? So when you look at, for example, moving houses, there's a lot of people dealing with that in the telecommunication industry. So you have to reconnect your internet. So how can we make that transformation, the moving journey better? In the end, people do not worry about their DSL connection. They might not worry about your energy connection. What they worry about is the crying 14-year-old because you're moving, relocating to a different place an hour away from her friends. This is what and the boxes and everything, and whatever makes you move. Understand that, and then you will be able to help and choose your role with whatever you do. So this is the key thing that we need to be aware of. So who succeeds in customer experience? So what do they need to do?
Right, so I've had the privilege to be working in companies that were very interested. It was part of their DNA to be interested. The first thing those companies, so in order to improve your experience, but the first thing those companies do is proactively listen to their customers. And I do say proactively because if you will receive unsolicited feedback, such as this here, and the person actually, we call it passive aggressive, because they have gone and it's too late. So you understand what did not go well in your experience, but it is too late. So what companies do, the company who succeed do first is to go and listen to their customers. But listening, so this is really important. Listening is not enough. You need to do stuff with it. You need to share that insight, consolidate it, share it in a way that everybody in the organization is going to understand it, right? Because it's not just a matter of the leadership, it's a matter for everybody in the company to understand, so that they can use that insight, take action, improve, and eventually communicate back to their customers. So that makes a lot of sense, but it is not done. As you can see, this is a Gartner report showing that a lot of companies actually collect feedback, but nobody really actually does something with it and communicate back with their customers. So there is a tremendous opportunities for everyone here to differentiate yourself, because it is fairly hard. There are a number of things which you need to do for this to work well. So this is an HBR report from last year. The dark blue lines show, so this is about culture, leadership, management. Do we have all of this? And everybody is aligned, and is customer experience a priority? So everybody says yes. The dark blue lines are on a scale of 0 to 100. How important is it? So it's a consensus. It's really important. And then we ask the HBR asked the question: how mature are we at those things? So it is hard, but there are a lot of things which executives agree need to be done, and they also realize they're not very mature at it. I've worked with a few consultancies, expensive ones. I was a pretty good customer, so they shared a lot of stuff with me. And these capabilities on this report on the right-hand side, together with what other consultants talk about, can be summarized in 4 key organizational capabilities you need to have to make a difference, right? And the first one I'd like to talk about is this thing about strategy and commitment, which is really about this thing you feel in some brands that our customer experience was very successful. They are clear on who they are, their purpose, their vision, but clear to a point where when you speak to any of their colleagues in the hotels at the front desk, or you speak to Michelin folks anywhere, they are really committed to that vision. And not only that, they understand how the values, the organizational values and customer experience principles help them translate this purpose and this vision into their day-to-day job. So across all the touch points and customer journeys, this is felt in a consistent fashion because everyone is aligned and committed. But in order to be that and to make it work better, as I mentioned earlier, you need to understand who your customers are and what they need. So then you need to make available to all your folks a number of tools. You need to consolidate those insights. And what we forget often, we consider customer insight, and we all make this mistake. It should be analysts, right? But we often forget that the other side of customer insight, there is no customer insight if nobody has that information, and therefore communication is really important, within the organization. So you share, and this insight is collective insight. How we behave is also really important as people. I advised a large logistics company, and this is about 6 months ago. And it was quite an experience as a person. So I presented to their board in Atlanta. So it's a very large company. It's more than 300,000 people. So it's not people at the board are quite bright people. So I presented research we'd done in Europe and about their top pain points from their small, medium-sized customers in Europe. And what came out really loud was damaged parcel. Damaged parcel, right? And they said, Olivier, your data is wrong because we only have one damaged parcel in 3,500 parcels that I shipped, which actually I was not quite sure how to answer that because I said, well, that is precisely the point I'm trying to get across, which is do not assume your operational excellence meets customer experience needs from your customers, right? But that's a really important point, is those things that we see at the bottom of the plane happen. Or when you see the FedEx, because it's not FedEx, the FedEx boxes being thrown over a fence. Or the Dave Carroll United Breaks Guitars video that I'm sure you've heard before. That builds reputation. And that reputation becomes a pain point or a believed pain point. So perception is really sensitive, and therefore it's very important to demonstrate and exhibit the right behaviors to differentiate yourself. So how do we improve experience? The Apple Store blue T-shirts, actually the head of CX and innovation at Apple do not have very much imagination, let's be clear about it. I've worked a little bit with them, but what they do is do a lot of listening to their customers and assessing what they heard the day before in the stores and change every day, identify what works, and therefore what should we do more of, and what didn't work, what should we change, right? At the Ritz-Carlton, they do that also every day before clients start to arrive at the front desk. Right? It is really important. But go beyond just your team, because there are things that should get fixed elsewhere in the organization. So you should go and ask yourself or ask your team's question, why 5 times, so you can go and actually remove sustainably what happens elsewhere in the organization. In my experience, it was not enough to do this, to differentiate yourself. In my experience, we decentralized the fixing and the huddles, and we provided every person, and in a transversal, cross-functional way, ways to actually understand customers and improve insights. And this is what Markus is going to talk about. Service design for us made a huge difference. Once we plateaued, we implemented service design in the organization, and we lifted again. So Markus, tell us more about it.
Okay, so basically service design for us is a way to work directly with customer experience and also to innovate. So create new products and services or tackle the ones that you have. And basically, if you heard that before, there's a few principles that are behind there. And the first one is it's a structured process. And it starts, and we've been looking at this for, through a lot of innovation and change projects. What are the successful ones? And the successful ones are not the ones where you say, hey, guys, we identified a problem, let's solve that. and jump straight away. This is how we're taught at school sometimes. You get a problem, you solve that problem, but the world is too complex out there. We have to step back, talk to the people first, observe the situation, go down to the freaking shop floor and see what's wrong there, and then make sure we solve the problem, the right problem first before we solve it right. So this is the two diamonds that we see. So we learn a lot about the problem situation, then we close down on what we actually need to solve, and then we ideate and come up with solutions and choose the one that work. So this is kind of the key behind that. The other problem with this is for the outsider, sometimes this doesn't work, look so structured, because we have these workshops in design thinking, service design, and we've done that with a healthcare provider the other day, and it was fun because the management came in, and after like half a day or 1.5 days, well, they saw their highly paid PhDs on the floor playing with Lego. Yeah, that can look like this, but it is for a reason. They were doing a process simulation using Lego bricks and actually inventing new ways how their supply chain worked. So we have to work against this. In the end, it really is about iteration. And if you work in agile ways, that's not new to you. You cut it down in sprints, you look back, see what have we learned, what has worked, what didn't work, and then you adapt. So iteration is not doing something over and over again, always the same time, but actually looking back and making a decision how to move forward. And that's why we do no longer actually push a project. In our book, This is Service Design Doing, you won't find a prescriptive, this is the service design process or a design thinking process, because we feel this doesn't work, because it really depends on the problem that you're solving and what you will find. So basically what we identified are the 4 big areas of activities that you will find in any of these projects. And there's of course patterns that come over and over again, but these are research, ideation, prototyping, and implementation. And just really fly through them so you know what I'm talking about. So it's doing research. How do you actually gather all that data that Olivier mentioned? So how do you listen? There's different ways. There's the quantitative ways you might be aware of. There's qualitative ways. A lot of organizations are not so much happy with the qualitative because they're not practice them. So, but this is where a lot of the work lies, the inspiration lies. And let's have a look. So do desk research. Ask your customer insights department what they already have. Stand on the shoulders of giants. Are there studies beforehand? Use everything that you can get your hands on. Then do contextual interviews. Talk to the stakeholders. But do not invite them for a coffee into your offices. Go out and talk to them where the stuff happens that you're interested in. If it's guys using energy, go to their homes and see how they use energy. If it's guys in the call center, go to the call center and talk to them. It's also a brain hack because they have all the Post-its around, so you can point at things and ask them questions about this. Much deeper knowledge that you can get. And of course, it allows you to observe them. That's participant observation because they know they're there. Non-participant observation, you need a big newspaper and poke 2 holes in them, and then you observe what's happening. Because people react sometimes differently when they're not being observed. Don't do this in front of a bank. Don't do this in front of a playground. That's not a good idea.
He's been there.
Of course. And one thing that you can always do if you partner with a client is do a work-along. Ask them not to do the stuff that you do at home in your office, but ask them if you can share their office space. And so you can observe how they tick, what their rhythms are, what their actual problems are. You go for lunch with them every day. It's different. This is from colleagues of ours who were asked to improve the employee experience on an oil rig somewhere in the ocean. They had to go through a 6-month certification and safety training before they could actually go there. But they said, unless we've been on this freaking oil rig, there's no way we can come up with a solution that will work for them. Let's be honest, because it's such a different place. Okay, so, and today, look this up. Mobile ethnography is a hot thing. Today, everyone has a device that can record their experience with them. All our customers have. Ask them to take photographs or do it yourself, auto-ethnography. Just try it yourself. If you work with a new client, try their products and services and see what you learn. So, and this is the research part. Then you need to visualize that and analyze and like, oh, this journey mapping is great for this, but also like system mapping where we say, okay, what are the important people and what are the relationships? So you can, again, discuss these. There's tools that help you to discuss these questions much more structured than you would do when you're just around a table. Right? In the end, it's about creating empathy. It's about creating insights and inspire the next step. So basically, if you got good research, you don't have to worry about the next step, which is ideation. And I usually don't talk a lot about ideation because there's meters of literature. Use whatever works for you. But unless you have done your research, it's going to be random. You know? So do it insight-based. Do whatever works. But in the end, when you select ideas, never just take one idea forward. If your CEO tells you that's a great idea, this idea, by the way, is doomed. Sorry. Yeah. So because what happens when he says that, or she says that? What happens is that everybody says, ooh, my boss said that's a great idea. I cannot change that idea. But what we see over and over again, innovative ideas and companies are the ones that change and adapt. So if you build a shell around an idea, it's doomed. It's going to fail on the market, quite possibly. So you take forward a few, and then you need to try them out. And this is where prototyping comes in. Do desktop walkthrough. That's what I mentioned with the figurines. Do your process walkthroughs on a table. It's really efficient. Do simulations with people. If you want to do a new sales pitch, get up and try it, and you guys give us feedback whether it works or not, and then you try a new version, and you do that very fast. Or go in the real world. If you have a shop, a colleague of ours worked with Vodafone in Spain. They refurbished all the shop systems and relaunched the whole thing, and they used the shop floor as a simulation. They would try it with real customer, change different processes straight away. Hotel chains do that now. They just put up a new cardboard tables, and they try a new check-in process with real customers coming in. They give them an upgrade, and they're happy, to be part of that. So, and that's now the stuff more in your domain, the digital domain. You do wireframes. There is now tools like Marvel app or Pop app that allow you to sketch your stuff on paper. Then you take photos with your mobile, and you just link these photos, and it looks like a real app in just half an hour of sketching. This stuff is not just for your UX team. This stuff is for your customers. This is for your internal stakeholders. They can learn this without any knowledge within half an hour. And then you can have a different conversation about what they really need. No one speaks requirements, guys. The only guys who can read the requirements are the one who wrote them, which is not the sense. It's communication. Build stuff and then talk about that. Okay, and it's about content. Write content as early as possible. Expose it to other people. Make shitty first drafts. Hemingway, coined that term. It's also, in innovation literature. Get it out there. Have some people give feedback to it and improve it. This, by the way, is the back entrance of Santa Claus's official shopping mall in Rovaniemi in Finland, and it has a big safety issue, and yeah, we do service design for Santa. Well, yes, sorry. This sinks in sometimes. Okay, it's really a nice man. Cardboard prototypes, same project. Build it to make a point and discuss it in the team. We showed that to the CEO of the shopping mall and put a price on it, and we knew what we were talking about. Or if you want to show the value, build a fake advertisement and show it to people. It can be as rough as this. Or you do business experiments out there in the market. If you go for lean startup, this is the stuff that they're talking about a lot, and Zappos was a great example on doing this. Again, it comes down to boundary objects. You've seen journey maps for customer experience, but we need boundary objects for a lot of things in our daily life, and prototyping helps us to have much better conversations where we go. And it's all about show me, don't tell me. Otherwise, all our meetings are comparing opinions. We need to bring them into reality and be able to test them, hopefully with real customers. And then it's not about all these tools. It really is not about creating a journey map for customer experience. Because in the end, we want to make a change in the reality of our customers and our organization. And that's where all these disciplines come in. And that's where the hard part really is. That fussy, customer journey map, fine, we're now agree on that. Making this work is the hard part. And this is where this starts all over. So again, we take a bit out, we have these sprints, so we do a bit of CX analysis, we do a bit of ideation, we do a bit of prototyping, but then it's about implementing, and we chew through that topic step by step. And service design gives us that shared language to connect all these different silos that we just seen. An architect is not used to talk to the marketing guys. The IT guys slowly learn to talk to marketing and the other way around, or HR. So these are all different silos that now suddenly have to work together, and we need to be patient and teach them how to do this. It's about actually finding this new balance. How are we doing? Yeah. Okay. One of the key things...
Rock and roll. Let's rock and roll.
It's rock and roll, yes. One of the key problems that we face in organizations is the two attitudes. We have yes and people, which are very good at creating ideas and opening up and seeing the potentials. Then we have yes but people who are really great in clay pitch and shooting ideas. I've got a great idea. Oh, yes, but this doesn't work here. Oh, yes, but we can't pay for it. Yes, but the technology isn't ready yet. Think about which type of person you are. If you're a lawyer, you're possibly on the second part. If you're a designer, you're possibly on the other part. Some people are more mixed. The problem is when in a team you have these two people working at the same time in their yes and yes but mode. Get this out of each other's way, because the problem is both are valuable. Because if you only open up and have wild ideas, you have to pay for them, and they might not always be legal, they get you into trouble. At some point you have to filter and to get real. So basically, when you have to filter, the yes but people are actually good people to have. Challenge that. Let it die. Let's try to get, find the holes before our customers find the holes. That's a great thing. But don't do it at the same time. So yes and this thing into your organization.
And that's a really important. So as a former practitioner, when you try and drive change across the organization, this balance is really important to get. And I'd like to share with you two ideas on that. So and make two suggestions, recommendations. A yes and that you need is from your CFO, Chief Financial Officer or Finance Manager. And that's really important because all of that is really nice, but it requires some investment in resources, in time, and financials. So you need your financial manager to understand that the customer experience and financials are confluent KPIs, right? So let me just explain to you a small example here. I hope it's a little bit of an eye test, so apologies for this, but just a short story. Yeah? We tested that some actions which resulted in some customer experience improvements, and we measured that NPS improved, right? And using that model, 6 months later, we figured out that for those customers who improved by 1 point NPS, they also, so that pool of customer, 1 point NPS led to 1 point reduction in churn. In that example, which is a utility in the UK, the disconnection cost was £10. The connection or the acquisition cost of a new customer to replace the ones that had left was £150. And so leading to a saving, if you improve, a saving of £850,000 per year. We also looked at sales incrementals and recommendation. We had new customers coming, 1,000 customers coming in, which added an extra gross margin improvement of 150K, which very conveniently led to a great story to tell. +1 NPS equals +1 million pounds NPV, net present value, which is cash flow type thing. And that is really important. So as a fact, but it's also very important that you get your CFO or his team to contribute to this, because otherwise you might get a yes, but your methodology was crap and it's not credible. Because they've done it themselves, it's really credible, and because you land on easy figures to communicate, you can mobilize your organization and invest in what Markus has just described. So that's a yes and that you really want. The next yes and you really want is your execs or decision makers in your company are using Excel files or PowerPoint to make decisions very often. Yeah, in a closed room, in a boardroom, which often has no light, daylight. So it's not a very, so often we miss tricks, we have blind spots. Helping them in meeting customers and translating or giving life to Excel files and PowerPoints by getting your execs to meet customers. And by the way, I read last month, 3% of their time, that's what it is, CEO spend meeting with customers. And that's a Harvard Business Review report, which is not very much. So there's a lot to be done there. And when the decision makers actually meet with customers in a listening mode, in a safe environment, so they don't feel exposed and justify themselves, it's just listening mode, you don't take notes, you take your tie off, you don't introduce your job title or anything, it all of a sudden becomes really clear what needs to be done, right? So that's really important. So for us at E.ON, in this company, 30 plus million customers, we were very pleased in the work we did since 2011 until that point, in 2013, because our customer experience using NPS worked, right? But it doesn't matter whether it works or not. The different, remember, this is a new battlefield we're on, and if you're still behind your best-in-class competitors in the market, which we also measured, then your improvements are irrelevant, because you're still behind competition. So those 4 capabilities that I explained, we embodied that. We worked really hard in managing the whole thing, and it is only when we trained in 9 countries, so this was quite a significant investment, and therefore this business case had to be very strong. We trained 1,500 service designers, and Markus helped with that. And then we lifted off. And then we were ahead of our competitors, which is the whole point. Yeah? And these kind of reports are very helpful because it's your customers telling you it works. It's not your operational KPI, 1 damaged parcel in 3,500, right, which can be misleading. So it's about orchestration, right? And it only works when it all works. And talking about orchestration, it's orchestration of your organization, but it's also orchestration of that customer journey that we were talking about earlier. So let's experiment orchestration.
Okay, for this I need volunteers, and because I look at the room, I think I need all of you as volunteers. So that's one way to volunteer is you're here. May I invite you to come forward to the stage. Now it's your time to get on the stage and form a half circle on the stage from this corner over here to where Olivier is standing. You need to be on stage. On stage means 1 step at a time, and it'll get you there. We'll get you there. Don't stand in one line, just as a big group, as a big bunch.
Over here.
Okay, let's see how many people we get on there.
You can kiss if you like, apparently, and this is, it's allowed. Yeah.
Okay, I need you at the other side.
The question is, will the stage handle the crowd? Yeah.
There we go.
Are we compliant with health and safety, Markus?
Not at all, but that's the fun of it, right? Okay,
please,
excellent.
Please.
Excellent. Then what we do is, I need you here at the end. So there you go. Okay, good. So fantastic. This is about orchestration, and about actually it's the secret of rock and roll. And the secret of rock and roll comes from a person that you all might know. You know James Bond? Yes. Have you seen a James Bond? Who has seen a James Bond movie? Okay. You know how a James Bond movie works? So basically, they're very similar. So basically, at the beginning, it's a huge stunt scene. Skiing is popular. He's going down the slope, and with the Russians behind him, and then he's jumping over a cliff, and then there is a motorcycle for some reason, and suddenly there is a a plane without a pilot, and he jumps into this plane, and everything in the background explodes, and he flies off in the sunset. It's like boom, a big, big explosion, and at the beginning, 007, da-da, bah, and then there's the opening scene. So this is the big explosion at the beginning. It's a big boom, and I want you guys. Let me see. Let me make a difference here. So you guys to be a big explosion. So your word is to be a boom, right? So we count you in. Let's see how this works. 3, 2, 1. You seen an explosion before? Okay, let's try it. So really go for it. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Okay, that's the explosion. That's the beginning of a James Bond movie. Right. So basically, then the movie then gets much more quiet. Of course, he goes back to London. He gets his new mission from M. He gets a few toys from the Q department, a bit of banter with Moneypenny, and then he starts off onto a sequence of little adventures. So every one of these adventures slightly more exotic. He goes to Guadeloupe, and then he goes to Hong Kong, and then maybe to Bangkok, right? So basically, these are some wow moments in the film. Each one of them slightly better than the one before. So basically, let me divide you. So like you two. No, let me. Can you go? What? Sorry. Yeah. So. Okay, so I need 2 people here, then I need 2 people here, and I need 3 people here. So that's you 3, and you're a 2 with, sorry, what's your name again? Michelle, yes, of course. So, so you're with Michelle, then you're a wow, okay? 3, 2, 1, wow. Orchestration is also about timing, so, so again, 3, 2, 1, yeah, so together, please, let's try. 3, 2, 1, wow. Okay, so that's a wow. And then the next adventure is slightly more wow. So, wow, okay? And 3, 2, 1, wow, okay? And try not to be French cynical on this, so like properly really wowed, right? And you are really going for it. It's kind of, wow, it's a really cool moment. 3, 2, 1, wow, excellent. So we need to have that kind of this orchestration going up. So we have, wow, wow, wow. Okay, fantastic. But this is not yet where this movie ends, because the movie then dives into the big, big last stunt scene, the showdown where James Bond, meets the evil super genius in the evil super genius lair in this big crater, and there's ninjas upseiling, and everything explodes, and the ninja explode, and it's a huge stunt extravagance, half the budget of the film, and it's a big, big explosion, even bigger than this one. It's a huge boom, longer and louder than the first one, yeah? And this is all of you except Franklin. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's try this. And I know what you're thinking. You just count it, It's like, well, yes, yeah, we have so much more. So yeah, it's easy. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, let the team do it. No, we're not, it's not the team doing this. You individually have to be louder than any of these guys individually. Only then it will work. Okay, let's try this. 3, 2, 1, boom! Excellent, fantastic. Okay, Franklin, I come to you, right? Okay, so far, let's put this together. So this was the James Bond movie, So attention, wait for your cue. 3, 2, 1, boom! Wow, 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 boom! Okay. But this is not where a James Bond movie ends. A James Bond, this is where Mission Impossible ends, and this is why James Bond will always be better than Mission Impossible. There is James Bond, Says, after this big thing, he's in this rubber dinghy on the ocean with a girl and about to give her Her Majesty's Secret Service, and suddenly the the submarine from underneath disturbs his fun, and he can't have the girl just yet. And and all the men in the audience think, see, James, he's just like me in love. Not everything works out. And he has been a superhero for like 90% of the movie so far. And this is key. In the end, he becomes human again. It puts a smile on our face. It's something that we can relate to, and it sends us out of the cinema with the emotion of, excellent. So let's put this together. So we have the whole movie now. Boom! Wow, 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 boom! Excellent. And this is a dramatic arc, right? It's and I can't speak French, so I'm going to try. It's arc de tension, something I heard. Say it right. Oh yeah, thank you. It's an arc of tension, an arc of engagement with the audience, an arc of engagement with your customers. Because not only movies have an arc like this, every service, every customer experience has one. Let's take, for example, tourism. We've been there. So let's take a cruise, going on a cruise. So it's the first day. It's a big boom. You're there, all the ship, all the people, and then you visit a couple of islands. You go, wow, wow, wow. And then at the end, you're at the captain's ball, and there's even, better party because all the people. It's great food, it's great wine, and a lot of things. It's like a fireworks display, even literally at the end, and you go, boom! And the next day, you stand at the quay, yeah, and you see the ship sail away, and the paper streamers break, and you go, you've paid months ago. So it's a sense of closure. Okay. So this is an interesting thing, and it's important to remember all your campaigns have a dramatic arc. All your project meetings have some sort of a dramatic arc. Depending, it works on a small level, it works on a big level. How do you orchestrate that? And may I ask you to join the big boom now? We're going to play around with it, because some of these arcs work and others don't. Okay? So really look where I'm triggering and which group I'm triggering, so we can actually change it a bit. Okay? So remember, let's do the old version again. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Wow, 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 boom! Okay, now, only one change. Just stay focused. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Wow, 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 boom! Okay, how was that as an experience? Yeah, I see the faces. Yeah, there is a problem here. This boom gave us more expectations than this could deliver. In itself, this was a great thing. And yeah, absolutely. But using that different sequence, we're kind of, we expect more, because traditionally we expect experience to build up. So if we can't keep that promise that this boom did, why not change it around? Let's, for example, leave it out altogether and do it differently. Wow, 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 boom! That works. Or even just this. Wow, wow, wow. But maybe not this. Wow, wow, wow. So the interesting thing here is when you do something, remember there is always a dramatic arc. How do you engage with people? On which level do you engage with people? What is a boom for them might not be a boom for you. Be careful about this. Listen to them. What is a boom for them and when does it happen? And then adjust your level. Sometimes we tend to promise too much at the beginning. And I'm not just looking at the salespeople. But this happens, because we think, yes, we're going to do this, and then there is life happening, and it trickles off. How can you balance that across your projects and also across maybe the life cycle? Because these structures also happen there. So with this, I would like to close. So I would like to thank Olivier
I'd like to thank Markus.
And we like to thank you. Give yourself a round of
Thank
applause. It's
you
amazing.
all.